Good morning. Welcome back to Understand and Respond. This is a video on how to become a man's man. There are a lot of baseball coaches that can show you how to be a great hitter. There are people who can teach you in a tennis camp how to become a great tennis player. They even tell me there are a few people who can teach even clumsy guys to swing a golf club and become pretty good golfers. Never wanted to accomplish that myself, but there are people who can tell you how to do great things. You can find coaches and help improve your performance in a lot of different areas. I would like to improve your performance at being a man's man. What is the most important thing about being a man's man? In order to do that, we have to start with some basics. I'd like for you to do one thing for me before we start this discussion. I'd like for you to take a piece of paper. Any old piece of notebook paper would be fine. And I'd like to write some words on there, if you would. Just watch me, I'll put some of them down here. I'd like you to write at the very top of your page, respect. And after you get that written, I'd like you to write appreciate. Appreciate. Appreciation, all the different ways that can be formed, but appreciate is the word I'd like to have you write. And then I'd like to have you write a third one, admire. I'd like you to write acceptance. Approval. And then last, I'd like you to write in a big bold letters, honor. Honor. Now, I'm having you write that on your paper, not just look at it on mine, because I want you to be able to study this paper for yourself. It's your paper. It's what's most important to you. I can only write what's most important to me. But after you get those words up there across the top, I'd like to have you put a dividing line and ask yourself, what do those things actually mean to you? What do you want to accomplish? What is the highest goal you have in mind? The biggest thing you've ever dreamed of doing. And then on the other side, I'd like to have you write, who would you like to get that approval, that acceptance, that respect from? What's the goal that you would like to accomplish to get it from someone. All right? With these three ideas mixed up together, I want to just tell you, most people don't make conscious choices. They don't look at their lives and actually thoughtfully search for what is most important, what they'd like to accomplish. I used to tell people, think about your tombstone. You want to put on your tombstone what you accomplished most. Olympics. I love the Olympics. I think they're grand. I watched Mark Spitz. Man, I'm telling you, 7-time Olympic champion. Gold medal champion. 9 Olympic wins, 7 gold medals. Mark Phelps, my goodness, he won 22 medals, 18 of those were gold. Yeah, amazing. Carl Lewis, 10 medals, 9 golds. Oh, it's exciting to watch these guys work. My favorite, I'll give you a picture of him here, is a guy named Vasily Alexeyev. He was a weightlifter in the Soviet Union. And he came to prominence in January of 1970, and he lifted through 1977. And then he retired from competition and went into coaching weightlifting teams. Alexeyev was, in my mind, the greatest Olympian I've ever watched perform, the greatest athletic competitor. In his life, he won 80 world records in weightlifting. He won 81 Soviet Union records. And that was at a time when the Soviet Union was very, very, very prolific in bringing forth athletic championships. He was granted medals and honors. He was given the Order of Lenin from his government. He was given the Order of the Friendship of Peoples. He was given the Order of the Badge of Honor. He was given the Order of the Red Banner of Labor, all of those from the Soviet Union. In his hometown, there's a street named after him, there's a park named after him, and there's a monument in his honor. He was a giant, not physically giant, but he was an athletic giant. But do you know what Alexeyev would have written in that form we just wrote? I happen to know. Because after he had won his final world record, gold medal, Olympic champion, he was at the top of his game. He had done more than anybody else on record in weightlifting. He turned and he walked off the platform and he turned to his training people that he worked with. He had become his own coach at that point, but he turned to those people that he was there at the competition with, and he said these words, "Maybe now my wife will respect me." I want you to think about that for just a second. His wife named, she was just a little tiny thing, just a tiny little lady, and her name was Olympiada. Olympiada. He won a lot of money lifting weights because the Russian society admired that, and they gave him bonuses every time he set a world record. He'd set them just by a tiny little bit each time as he would creep the way up. The money wasn't what moved him. he got medals. The medals aren't what motivated him. He won prizes and cups and orders and medals of recognition. That isn't what motivated him. He wanted the respect of a very tiny little lady who was the most important person in his life. Now I want to just share with you. Go back to that page you had just written out. Look at it again. If you had a goal, if you had a desire, a burning urgency, look at that list. Who would you want to respect you the most? What do you think it would cost? What do you think you could do to win respect from the group that you look up to the most? Oh my, there have been people that have spent lifetimes working on a lifetime goal. I know of people who wanted to, first we saw Olympic gold, but they wanted to accomplish something like Pete Rose. He wanted to get into the Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame. There have been people who wanted to win the Academy Award or the Pulitzer Prize for literature. There are people who wanted to win the recognition of the entire world. They set out to win the Nobel Prize. There have been people that decided that the best way to win something of worth would be to get elected to high public office. And so they walk out on the stage of public opinion and they try and win the hearts and minds and votes of the greatest number of people with a hunger, a desire to win this one prize that seems to be something that would be permanent and forever, a recognition, an approval, a respect, an honor. But I want to stop and ask you a few questions right here as you start to think about that. If you win the Super Bowl and they give you a parade and you ride in a bus or a limo or a back of a convertible and the ticker tape parade is just showering you with honor and respect and approval and admiration. Isn't that great? Wouldn't you like to have a great big ring on your finger? Oh, man. I'd love to win the Indy 500. Have my face showing on the side of that cup. I've always loved the Indy. I grew up listening to Richard Petty win. That was before there was television coverage. You had to listen to him on the radio. But let me tell you a little secret. Just a little tiny little secret. Next year, there's going to be another Super Bowl. Somebody else is going to win. Your name may be in the record book somewhere as a winner of Indianapolis 500. Next year, somebody else's face is going to be on the cup. You may have your spot on that cup, but the honor doesn't last too long. I was just watching what happened at Veterans Day yesterday. People who have served their country in the military, including, yours truly. I was in the Navy during the Vietnam War. It's nice to be honored. I got my breakfast at Denny's. It's nice to be remembered. But I'll tell you what, fighting in a military campaign won't carry you through with respect through the rest of your entire life. Most of us have to treasure those tiny little moments. And some of us will work a lifetime and never win the Olympics, never bring home a Super Bowl ring, never win the Academy Award. So where do we get the respect that we like, we need? Jesus Christ told a story in the Gospel of Luke. Story of two boys. And the younger of the two boys decided he wanted to go and win his Olympic prize. He wanted to go and knock down the big accomplishment nobody else in his family had been able to do. He wanted to go and really accomplish, make a name for himself, get the respect he really deserved, get the approval of people that he admired himself. And so he took his inheritance and he went out to make a name for himself in the world. And he wasn't real careful about the way he did it. He went after a goal that he hadn't thought through all the way. He sort of took a short-term goal and like winning a competition only happens every 4 years, took a temporary goal and made it his permanent life goal. When the really hard times came, when the difficult days always come, he found himself without respect. He found himself without admiration. He found himself without approval. He found himself without acceptance, and he found himself without honor. For a man of his time to become a pig feeder was the worst insulting, degrading, demeaning, worthless job you could have. And he became a pig feeder. Man, that had to hurt. That had to crush a person. He thought he was on the right track. It looked for a while like he was winning. It looked like he had it made. He decided that he'd made a mistake somewhere. He'd looked for approval and acceptance, respect and honor in the wrong place. He decided to go back and start over, Start at the bottom. Begin all over again. Rebuild something. Okay, you can read the story and say he was hungry and starving, but you missed the point. You missed the point. If that's what you get out of that, you missed the point. Because if you look at what happened when he walked back home to talk to his father didn't call for a bowl of soup. His father didn't call for a glass of wine. That would have refreshed his body. That would have solved his hunger. What the father did was to give him what he really needed. He brought the family robes and put on him. He put the family ring back on his finger. And then he called everybody in the community, his entire surrounding social system, all the way through the community, and he called them together for a celebration in honor of his newly found son. Recognition, approval, acceptance, respect, honor. He gave his son what he needed the most, what he was most hungry for, what he had spent his inheritance to get, and eluded him, now was returned to him in permanence. The most important things he went out to accomplish and failed, he now finds himself receiving in permanence. His older brother hadn't done much better, by the way. Let's just be honest about that. His older brother saw the party going on, came back and got mad because his brother was having a party thrown, having everybody over, having all the great accomplishments, having everything he wanted. He wouldn't go into the party. His dad had to go out in the street, talk to his older son. What did the boy say? I've worked like a slave for you all these years, and I didn't even get a goat to enjoy having my friends over. He sort of felt like a pig feeder. I've just been a pig feeder for you. No respect. No honor. I've worked like a slave. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you feel that way. My friends, I want you to understand, these two boys wanted something bad. They wanted something really, really, really bad. They wanted to be accepted, appreciated, approved of, honored. And what does the father do for his older son? He said, everything you want, you have received from me. It's all here. It's all yours. All you have to do is claim it. If you want to be a man's man, carefully judge what you want to go after, what you want to accomplish. If Michael Phelps accomplished a great deal, then why does he spend 5 days curled up in the fetal position in 2014? Didn't he win all those medals? Didn't he have all those awards? If Pete Rose was the ball player that he actually wanted to become and worked so hard to accomplish, why isn't he in the Hall of Fame? If Lance Armstrong won all those championships, why doesn't he get to put on the yellow jersey? I'll tell you why. They went after a temporary goal that should have been replaced with a permanent goal. To be a man's man, we ultimately need to perform in a way that meets the needs of the people in our immediate family, in our marriages, in our communities, in our relationships. The quality of who you are must be validated by the people who know you best. If you get an accomplishment for running the fastest race, and you can't take care of your family, what you've won is very quickly lost. Ask all the football players that have gotten caught doing illegal things or abusive things or hateful things. What they won, scholarships, awards, championships, all go away. What defines us, what gives us a chance to have our Academy Award, our Super Bowl ring, is not what we do in bringing home the biggest paycheck, because for some people that's their Academy Award. If I can come home with the biggest paycheck, then I win. I win the championship. I win the World Series. And then lose their family? Where's the satisfaction, the honor, the respect that comes from that? If I'm the salesman with the biggest and largest sales numbers on the book, and I come home to a family that's all torn to pieces, hateful, nasty, angry, how do you feel like you've actually won something? If I spend my time on my hobbies, my sports, my golf buddies, my basketball fanatic team players at the local sports bar, and come home and my children don't even know who I am, how can I feel like I won even if my team came in first? No, you have to think carefully who you're going to put on that side of the sheet as at the top of the list, what you want to accomplish. If it's your boss, you're going to be disappointed. Bosses only want one thing: performance. If it's money, you'll never have enough, I promise you, because somebody makes more than you do, more than you will ever do. All you do is change from comparing yourself with one set of income numbers with people who make a different amount in their income. If you think that performance is going to make you feel like a winner, and you go out and you buy all the nutritional supplements and you work out in the gym and you get biceps and triceps and abs of steel, wait a few years. Even the Arnold Schwarzeneggers of this world and the Muhammad Alis of this world can't hold it. It can't be done. You eventually have to depend on something else for your sense of respect, honor, approval. It comes from being the kind of man who can make his wife feel proud that she's married to you. You make her feel like a princess. You've never caused fear to creep into her life. You made her feel safe, loved, secure in her relationships. You've pushed away the darkest of her fear. If you want your Lifetime Achievement Award, follow Jesus Christ. Follow his example, follow his teaching, follow his lead, because he said, I command you to love each other as I have loved you. That brings the greatest reward, not only from our family, but from our Father in heaven who has commissioned us. He knew how we were made. He knew what we were needing. He's the one who built piece by piece the DNA from which we are knit together. He knows what we need more than anyone else. And when Jesus tells us, explains to us what we will hear on the other side of life when this life is ended, it wasn't just chance or random possibilities that he chose the words that the Heavenly Father is going to speak to us when he says, well done, thou good and faithful servant. You did good. You were wonderful. You won the prize. Come and join with me in this time of celebration and rest. They set a table in front of me, even in the presence of my enemies. Even those who want to run you down, who want to take away your pride, God sets down his richest blessings, his reward of honor and respect for you. You want to be a man's man? I'll explain to you. A little earlier this year, my 93-year-old father had his final heart attack. He'd had a stroke, several heart attacks. I was helping him get dressed one Saturday morning, and he was hit by another. As he sat there waiting for the EMTs to come, and I held his failing body in my arms, being his oldest son, I wanted to give him his Lifetime Achievement Award. I told him again and again how much his family loved him through all the years, how proud we were of him, how much we admired his strength and courage and dedication and consistency and his determination not to give up, not to let it slide, but to stay strong all the way to the end. I told him that we were in awe of him and what he'd accomplished. And I wasn't sure if he heard me. He was eyes closed, semi-conscious. And then when I closed by telling him how much, how deeply, how passionately I loved him, he opened his eyes and he smiled at me. And I know he'd heard. He received his Academy Award, not for a silly performance, but an Olympic gold. He won his race. He completed the course. He got his lifetime accomplishment award from those he loved the most. You want to be a man's man? Make very careful choices about what you write down on those lists we just made. Be very careful to put the most precious things at the top of the list that you'd like to accomplish. Put the very most important people in your lives at the top of that list and cross off anything that might get in the way of you being able to do that. Never let secondary things get in the way of you doing the most important things. Be God's man. Be the husband and father and friend. And the Father in heaven will smile when he sees your faces. And he'll say, awesome job, kiddo. You set the record. Good job. Come on, let's have a party and celebrate in your honor.